Trainers meeting is convening at 9:03 a.m. on February 17th, 2021 at the Health Licensing Office in Salem, Oregon by telephone conference call. I will now call roll. Dale Isaac here. Heather Halseth.
Here.
Gregor Hill.
Here.
Christian Stoll. Haley Hayes.
Here.
Members, when you wish to speak, please state your last name for the record. For the record, public members calling into the public phone line are asked to email April Fleming at april.fleming@dhsoha.state.org.us and provide their first and last name. Public and interested parties' feedback may be heard during the public interested parties' feedback period if indicated on the agenda. Everyone is asked to use appropriate language, manners, and protocols when conducting board business. The meeting is called to order.
Good job, Dale. This is Sylvie. On the agenda, hopefully everybody has that. First item is approval of the agenda. If nobody has any concerns about the agenda, they can make a motion to approve the agenda.
This is Dale Isaac. I make a motion to approve the agenda. Oh, sorry.
As chair, you can't. You're running the meeting.
Oh, sorry. It's been a while since we've done this.
Heather Halseth, I make a move to approve the agenda.
Greg Hill, second.
A motion has been made. I'll call the roll. Dale Isaac approved. Heather Halseth.
Aye.
Gregor Hill.
Aye.
Christian Stoll. Haley Hayes.
Aye.
Okay, this is Sylvie again. Next item is approval of the 2021 meeting date. We obviously already picked this one, but we need one more. So as long as there's no concerns or issues, we picked out November 3rd at 9 a.m. Does that conflict with anybody's schedule? And if not, someone other than Dale can make a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve.
That was Christian.
A motion has been made to approve the date. I'll call the roll. Dale Isaac. Aye. Heather Halseth.
Aye.
Gregor Hill.
Aye.
Christian Stoll. Haley Hayes.
Aye.
All right, this is Sylvie again.
Sorry, this is Ann. Who was the second on that, please?
Greg.
Thank you.
So next is the 2021 chair and vice chair. So Dale, you don't have to answer me because I'm putting you on the spot, but everybody probably needs to know. So your term is up at the end of April. So as long as you're willing to reappoint and work with Paige on reappointment paperwork, and you can continue serving as chair. If that is not your plan, and you don't have to decide right now, but I guess you probably should talk about it, because if you're going to be chair or not. Because you don't have to change who chair and vice chair is, obviously, unless chair or vice chair will not be on the board anymore. So, Dale, that's kind of your call. If you want to continue being chair, you would need to work on your reappointment paperwork.
Yeah, I'm fine with that as long as I have a little bit of confidence from my colleagues on the board.
And Paige is listening. She's on, so she'll make sure and email you, Dale, the reappointment paperwork and get with you on that. So currently we have Dale as chair and Heather as vice chair. And Heather, you're good until February 22. So, yeah, so as long as you two are both willing to continue serving, you don't have to change it. If either one of you don't want to do it, then you can say so, and then they can re-elect somebody else. But you do have to. They do have to vote. So
I'm okay keeping going with the vice chair.
okay. So somebody want to make a motion to keep the chair and vice chair as is for the rest of 2021?
Greg Hill, move to keep the chair and vice chair as is through 2021. Second.
A motion has been made. I'll call the roll. Dale Isaac, aye. Heather Halseth,
Aye.
Gregor Hill,
Aye.
Christian Stone, Haley Hay.
Aye.
Perfect. It's gonna be a short meeting, you guys. But your guys' meetings are usually pretty short anyway. So in your packet under director's report, we have, these are some of the major bills that we're following. So there's none that really pertain to you guys as an individual board. There's a bunch that pertain to the office, and the office is all the entities under the office. So I don't know if you've had a chance to kind of review those bills, or if you want me to go through them, or have any questions. Like I said, none of them pertain specifically to you, but I can go through any of them. Maybe if you have questions on them. There's a couple that move new boards to us, or new programs to us. Some major changes of combining a board or two boards, and then some stuff about moving some curriculum to us. But does anybody have any questions on any of those? I know they don't really pertain to you guys, so I didn't want to go through all the details if you didn't want to talk about them all. No? Okay. I'll move on. So some staffing stuff. We finally got approval to start filling some positions. So Bob got 2 new inspector positions filled. One individual still is yet to start. But one of the things that our inspectors do is educate the public and the licensees that we do inspections on regarding the COVID-19 stuff. So we got approval to get those positions filled due to the fact that they help get that education and awareness out. Specifically for cosmetology, your hair salons, nail salons, and then also for tattooing and body piercing. So, and then we got a couple new frontline people. We were getting a little behind. We are still open by appointment only. I'll move right into the COVID-19 stuff. Marion County is still considered the highest risk. So we are still limited on how many people we can have in our office, including how many people we can have testing. So we're falling way behind on testing and getting a lot of complaints about how long it's taking for individuals to get in and to test. But again, that comes down to the directive and following the governor's orders and not allowing people just to walk in and then only so many people in. But it is getting us way behind, and which is also long-term affecting how fast people can get to work. So hopefully the COVID restrictions start lifting and we can start opening up to more people at a time, but apparently we're not as good numbers-wise. Obviously, last week she opened up the Portland Tri-Counties, so we're hoping that soon Marion County will be opened up, but as of right now, it's not. How are things, the COVID stuff going with you guys? Everybody stay in their office?
Staying busy. Yamhill County, we're still extreme risk, but we are, outdoor sports are going, for the most part, normal, with the exception of football. And we have 3 sports seasons going at the same time, so it's getting busy.
Yeah, trying to play catch up.
Definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot in Lane County too, and where Dr. Stoll and I work with the university in particular, but yeah, I'm our testing coordinator for University of Oregon, so we test every single day around, 80 or more people.
Did you guys do the rapid test, like the 15-minute one?
We do the antigen testing, and then at least once a week, we send for PCRs. Yeah.
And with the new guidelines, it's going to be a challenge for the high school athletic trainers that are needing to test symptomatic kids. I guess is kind of how they're put in a different testing protocol basically than what the colleges have been. But I think it's going to be a real challenge for the resource-wise for those high school athletic trainers.
So our high school sports fully functional?
And
Depends on the county.
yeah, so county to county, and then the extreme risk counties, and Heather probably has a better handle of this than I do, but with the extreme risk counties, if they opt in to doing a sport, they have to have access to doing a rapid test, or not necessarily a rapid test, but they have to have access to test symptomatic athletes. The lower risk counties, if they opt in, I don't think are held to that standard. Is that correct, Heather?
Yeah, I don't think they have to have a testing protocol in place. It's just symptomatic kids get, sent to be tested. But, yeah, OSAA just released something last week on high risk and other low, moderate risk counties and what the protocols are for them.
And then each college is supposed to have a separate protocol approved by the state and that just changed as of last week. Our Division I teams have all had protocols approved by the state going back as early as September with Oregon and Oregon State, I think, wasn't it, Heather? And then Portland State UPs were in late November, received approval, and then all the other colleges across the state. I don't think there's any other college that has actually received approval yet on testing protocols or return to play protocols, excuse me.
All right, anything else on COVID? Don't want to keep you here all day, more than 30 minutes, and we're going to find out.
Well, I had a quick, just out of my own, I guess, being curious about it, athletic trainers asking about it being within the scope to do the testing. And of course, I always say, refer back to your, to the Oregon Health licensing or with your employer for sure. But, people asking about the difference between helping with collecting self-swabs or doing the actual nasopharyngeal tests and being within the scope. And I always use the blanket statement of checking it for, I'm not speaking on behalf of the board or anything like that, but I didn't know if you all had heard of, or a lot of people contacting you guys to get some clarity on that.
This is Ann, Heather. I've had quite a few calls, especially when the vaccines rolled out, and they wanted to know if they could help. And I direct questions back to their statutes. With your athletic trainer license covers athletic injuries. This is how an athlete is defined. Now, I can't give you legal advice, and if you're working in some capacity under someone else's license, because that can be, then you need to check with your HR department to see if that activity is covered under some other license or some other capacity. But it doesn't, it doesn't fit within the definition of treating an athletic injury.
So that's where your medical, any kind of medical association, medical director or physician, when they say, hey, I need you doing this, you're doing it not as an athletic trainer, but as an extension of that person's license. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Specifically, you were talking about vaccination or obtaining a PCR swab?
The swabbing.
Well, I've actually, Sylvia, I've had questions about giving vaccination. I've had questions about testing, assisting with testing, or any capacity with COVID. And it's the same answer, which is, if you're operating under your athletic trainer license, you are supposed to be treating athletic injuries on athletes as defined in. However, if you are operating under somebody else's license, then you need to consult your HR department or get some legal advice on that.
Yeah.
I think the vaccination is a separate issue, but I'd be interested to hear what the board has to think about obtaining PCR, because I think that's totally within the scope as long as they've received training, and as long as they're an institution or overseeing entity like OSA or overseeing physician are part of that protocol. because it is required now for athletics, depending on which level you are looking at. So it's within that scope.
100%. And so, did you guys get emails? So we've been we, meaning the office, has been sending out a bunch of email blasts. So there were several that we sent out, and hopefully people were like watching them, about how to get on the list of people who can do your athletic trainer license is not the one that gives you to be able to do an injection. That's completely separate. But they are wanting volunteers and people who are around individuals who need vaccination to, as long as you know how to vaccinate, give a shot. You then fall under somebody else's license and they can say, hey, I need you doing this, 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 and this. And so that email went out to all of our licensees. So hopefully you guys got that. If not, you might want to check your junk mail in your email because we send it out to every licensee. And so OHA, which is they're the ones who are organizing the whole vaccination stuff, have desire to have tons of people willing to volunteer, setting up places, and then that's also how you guys get to make sure that you guys get your personal vaccines as fast as you can too. Because obviously we have no control or authority over that, but we do have the authority to send you as much information as possible. So maybe look in your junk box. Our email blast that comes out sometimes has like a weird extension on it. So most people's email will automatically put it in the junk box because they don't recognize it. Because you may not have ever seen one of your emails. You may never seen that email address before, but automatically it says it's junk. So we've sent out ones about registering to become a person who can do vaccinations, how to get your vaccination, where vaccinations are, how to get bumped up on the list for vaccinations based on your profession. So all that information gets sent out. And if you didn't get it, it's out on, you can go out to OHA, or Oregon Health Authority, and then COVID-19 vaccinations, and they have an actual website that has all the same information. Our emails were just a little bit more detailed and chronological instead of having to try and find it on a website. So, and also if you didn't get it, email me directly and I can find the blast and send it to you. So.
Yeah, that's good information, Heather, to send out to the general membership.
Yeah, the OATS has just been searching for the information on the OHA website, which is a little more tedious to try and find, but I haven't received any of those. I check my junk mail daily for stuff, so it's weird, yeah. But I've been forwarded some emails from other people.
Well, Heather, just email me. For one, we need to make sure that our database, we pull it out of the database, that our database has your correct email address, because, we're all human and could have transposed two numbers, who knows, what. So I can check your email database, but I can also email you a copy of what was sent out. But the best is to make sure that our database has your correct email address if you did not get it.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah. Anything else on COVID before we move on? No, okay. All right, let's get into the statistics. So in your materials, there are the standard statistics reports. First one is the licenses issued and renewals process. Broken out by quarter, and again, our quarters are a little weird, I know that. So quarter one of 2021 is actually July, August, and September of 2020. So it shows the 18 issued, 148 renewed, so that's 148 in that month. Or in that quarter, sorry. Roughly 80% of individuals renew online, which I'm surprised it's not higher because COVID were closed, so you either have to renew online or snail mail it in. So next slide shows active licenses by age and gender. Again, we do not require you to tell us if you're male or female, so there are individuals who have chosen to not answer, but for the most part, the male and female are on there. And you've seen the same slide before. Majority of your licensees are the age 26 to 33. But you do have one individual who's actively licensed who is either 66 or older. Or between 66 and 73. Next slide just shows the long-term trend, like the quarterly average for, 5 years. Pretty consistent. 5 years ago, you were at 377, currently at 407. So no major increase or decrease. Next slide shows financials. So obviously these change every year. We're going to be getting a new program. Pretty sure, for sure, one program for sure coming to us. Then there's talk about 6 new boards that are, or 6 boards that are independent, moving underneath the office. So that'll change all the allocations out. We've noticed over time, the expenditures of being part of public health and health authority have increased. We did inform the legislation of that. We had to have 2 of our boards have their fees increased because their fees were set when we were independent. And now it costs more to be a part of health authority, so their fees are having to go up. And that's Board of Cosmetology and respiratory therapists and polysmographers. So legislation knows that it's more expensive than it was when we were independent. Not that doesn't mean that they're going to do anything about it, but they are aware of it. And then the other thing that I want to do with you guys is once we get stabilized, they keep adding and changing programs with us, so it's hard to try and stabilize and project out how our revenue and expenditures are going to go. But I need to get you guys' revenues to not be more than what your expenditures are. And so I'm looking at doing a discount for renewing. So whether we either discount the fees, all the fees, or like really encourage individuals to renew online. So give it like a larger discount for individuals to renew online. So we'll be working on that. I also, as part of those new boards coming on, I've been talking to my supervisor about, and I've said this forever, and then obviously it hasn't happened yet, is that we need a fiscal analyst in-house who can analyze the expenses and the revenues and all that stuff. And we still get to get one, so one of the asks I'm going to ask for when those 6 boards come over to us is, I'm really going to need one then, because we're going to go up to 22. And it's hard enough for me to keep track of 16, let alone 22. So it'll be an interesting, it'll be really interesting, because that's really going to grow us. Those 16 boards also have, I think, around 22 positions. They're not all full-time, because a lot of them are part-time, because they're independent boards. So I'm not real sure how that will work, if they'll get all those positions and the people. I would assume not all the people are willing to drive to Salem from Portland, because their office is in Portland. So we'll see how all that goes, but it's a big change coming, and that will really skew, not really skew, it will really change the percentages of like for rent and all that kind of stuff, because rent will then be divided into 22 boards instead of 16. So a lot of changes, but regardless, your revenues still are too much. So we're going to need to start doing a discount. I just don't know how much yet because of the whole too many unknowns kind of thing. But you can see there in your expenses that each year they're going up and going up. And so that's kind of where I want those to stabilize, but I'll keep you guys informed of how all that goes. There's going to be a lot of changes coming. So, any questions? All right, well, let's move on to Bob on the regulatory report.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Bob Bothwell for the record, regulatory manager. So we have only one case open for the last biennium, and it was a case, I can't go into too much detail, but it's outside of local jurisdictions in litigation. So that's going to remain open probably for a little bit, especially with COVID going on. So that's the 17-19 biennium. We had a total of 5 complaints. One does remain open, and currently we haven't had any complaints on the 19-21 biennium.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great.
That's what we'd like to see. Does anybody have any questions about that one old complaint? I mean, we can answer a few little questions, but we can't get into detail. Do you understand what he said about the reason why we're not working on it?
No, I don't, actually.
Okay, because it's going through the legal system. So there is something else legal-wise that's going through the system. And usually what we do when, so, and I don't know this case specific, but when the DA is prosecuting a case, or she has gone through a trial, or gone through either mediation before it goes to trial, we let them do their investigation first, because then we use their evidence as a reasoning on what to do with the licensee's license. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
So we just kind of stay back and wait until that's done, because we'll already have, because if the person gets convicted of a felony or misdemeanor, or cited, whatever ends up happening, we can use that against them. And we try to stay out of law enforcement and DAs out of their way, as long as it's not an immediate detriment to society for that person to have a license. Does that kind of make sense?
So, yes. And is this trainer currently practicing at this juncture? Are they currently employed?
I don't know. It's,
Can they maintain their license though during this time, Bob?
yes. They can continue to renew as long as they do the CEs. Even when somebody's suspended, they can continue to renew as long as they're doing the CEs. So this case, look, when I said outside our jurisdiction, it's going through litigation in the federal courts right now. So everything that we would be privy to is locked down tight. So we're not getting any information.
Doesn't mean we won't go there eventually, but
Yeah.
for now, everything's just kind of on hold.
Yeah, so this is going to be one of those that's going to just hang out there for a while, until it breaks that we can move forward on with any of the information that we get. That's the whole thing. It's litigation, so they're not going to share anything with us.
Because it's in the federal system, we can't see it, obviously. At some point, is that released to the state? Or does the state, so that you can look at what's gone through the federal system?
Typically, yes. We have access to it. So there's a couple of caveats. I mean, if there's a non-disclosure with what happens, that nobody can talk about it, then it may be somewhat difficult for us to move forward with it. But we already know what happened, when it happened. We just don't know who's at fault. Does that make sense?
If we do know information, we will have an executive session on the agenda, and then we can talk about it.
Yeah. And we can go, and at the next meeting, if it's not resolved, we can put it on the executive session. So I think I know Greg is aware of it for sure, but I'm not sure if the other four of you were on the board when this case came to us. So, but yeah,
That's fine. And Ann's on. Ann, will you add to the agenda for that November 3rd an executive session? And then Bob can then go into a little bit more detail about the case.
Absolutely.
Okay?
And that's all I've got.
We'll be able to give you more detail.
Any other questions about anything?
All right.
Good, thank you.
We are on item number 4, public interested parties feedback. Bob, is there any public or interested parties on the phone?
No, there is not.
No, there's not. We will move on. Item number 5, other board business. Is there any board business that you guys would like to talk about or make sure, other than what we've already talked about, is on the November 3rd agenda? Nope. No. All right. Oh man, you guys had 30 minutes. I told you, your time's up. Dale, you've got a closing script there for you to read.
Okay, so, let's see, the adjourn one, skip over the public. Okay, adjourn. The Board of Athletic Trainers meeting is adjourned at 9:33 a.m.
All right, Bob, is the recording off?